All right. Almost the end of week 13 Sunday. Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast here, the rundown. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, less than a minute to go in what turned out to be a blowout, 26-7. A little surprised that Buffalo was able to run the ball so well, given two of their offensive linemen out, two tackles. It took the second half and the turnovers to even out before they could establish the dominance. But in any case, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers do not get it done here. All right, let's go over what we have for injuries and everything else here for this week in week 13.
All right, we'll start. We'll just stick to that game like you just talked about. Aaron Rodgers left the game for a little bit. Mason Rudolph had a couple plays, came back. We saw blood running down Aaron Rodgers' face. He did return to the game. Tell me what you saw in his injury.
When he got crushed by Joey Bosa, likely the bridge of the helmet came down on the bridge of his nose, caused the bleeding. And he did not land on his left wrist. He clutched at it a little bit when he got up, but I don't think it was ever the left wrist. It was just, getting rocked in the back. And then with the blood, that means a mandatory head check. Mark Caboli made a good timeline. He says, he's been in the tent for 8 minutes. He's been in the tent for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. If it just were for a concussion head injury clearance, that would indicate no good, that he'd need to go inside and he didn't pass. But when you add in all the things, and doctors and people were seen going in and out of the tent, the different levels, the different setup, the first thing that happens is the head team physician is saying, what's going on? Let me look at your wrist. What's going on? And when the wrist checks out okay, because that might have been their biggest worry, and that takes a minute or two. Then comes the let's get your head cleared, right, to see if you can return. And then, of course, then the blood on the bridge of the nose. And there was athletic trainers and medical staff seen running in and out and getting some supplies, likely to glue, suture, or whatever, the bridge of the nose. So really 3 issues to take care of in the 10 minutes. The head check, the wrist, and the bridge of the nose bleeding issue, and Aaron Rodgers did indeed return. And my assumption is no worse for the wear, despite the fractures in his left wrist. And certainly a blow to Pittsburgh season here with the loss, but would anticipate there's no reason Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be able to play next week.
And next week is against the Ravens, so they do have a way to get back on track in the division, right? They're both tied 6-6 right now. Aaron Rodgers was 10 for 21, Doc, 117 yards, 65 passer rating. Is there a chance, like you could talk, like, and I guess this is hindsight, that this was a week too early? Should they have started Mason Rudolph this week and then had Rodgers ready to go for an important division game? Or was this just they did need this game to get to the division game to make it meaningful?
Well, every game's important at this stage of the race.
Right.
I think that's a coaching decision. I think that's part of Aaron Rodgers was lobbying to play last week, and Mike Tomlin said, no, let's go Mason Rudolph against Chicago last week. So they already did that for 1 week.
Right.
So I don't think they were going to do that a second week. There's no reason Rodgers wouldn't be able to start next week. I don't believe at this point, I think they're pot committed to Rodgers that they're going to switch to Mason Rudolph, barring an aggravation of the wrist injury where he couldn't play. It does change things, though, if you're all shotgun. It does change your run game, and there's some downstream effect.
Next one, Doc, I had just another quarterback. We'll get the big boys' names out of the way. Justin Herbert, another quarterback that did return. He had a finger issue. In 2023, he had a finger issue to his throwing hand. This was his non-throwing hand. Tell me what you saw in the play.
Well, I think he's had a non-throwing hand issue as well before, and he did return to the game here with jokingly, the Michael Jackson look, one gloved hand, so to speak.
What does that do, the glove, exactly for him?
Well, the glove improves his grip, because with any fracture or dislocation to the finger, he doesn't have as much grip. So the glove improves the grip. There are some quarterbacks that can throw with a glove on their hand, on their throwing hand, and some that cannot. The way it sticks, they
don't like it.
They don't like it. Yep. Some can and some cannot throw with it. And Herbert always has not, to my knowledge, had a glove on his throwing hand, no matter what the weather is. And non-throwing hand's a different story to help his grip and ball security. He was still favoring it. There was no under center snaps for Justin Herbert after he came back, buddy taping the third and fourth finger here. And, at this point, you have to expect he will continue to play through. He's as tough as they come. How much practice time will he miss? Who knows? And there's an outside chance, depending on the type of fracture, they could try and squeeze in a surgery and play through it to stabilize the finger and hand a little bit. You could tell he was favoring it. There were one-handed, off-handed handoffs. So it's something to watch, but I don't see how he's going to miss time as he's already played through the second half here.
They play at home on Monday night, Doc, against the Eagles. That one extra game does not allow enough time for surgery, I'm assuming, right? He would need a week off, or how does that work?
Well, it depends on what kind of surgery, right? And I'm not saying for sure he needs surgery, but if surgery with a pin or a screw with limited incision, then stabilize the finger more, it's not impossible to try and sneak it in. We've done that before. This week I talked about the wrist fracture dislocation on, blanking on the name of the guy, Detroit Lions. In any case, Sean Merriman I forget what year it was, fracture dislocation of his wrist, finished a goal line series against the New York Jets. At the end of the game, we reduced it. We did surgery on it, and he returned to play without missing a single game. Now, albeit there was a bye week the next week. But there's a Lions player that has a similar type injury, although not every wrist fracture dislocation is exactly the same. And then I guess my point is we've done it before where you haven't missed any time with a small finger surgery, but that's not for sure that he will need it.
Josh Simmons.
Oh, it's Chiefs. My bad.
I'll say I wrote
bad.
wrist fracture and Simmons came up. I just wasn't sure if it was a Lion guy or not.
I knew it was a
yeah.
Did I say Lions? I meant
You did
line.
you said
I meant
Lions.
line.
Yeah. I was looking up Lions, a wrist fracture. I was trying to find it real quick. No,
I did say Lions. I was misremembering. It was I remember Lions because it was a Thanksgiving Day game injury.
Yes.
And it was an offensive lineman, and I thought Lions line. My bad.
The dots were there. Yeah.
Whatever. It's all good. Josh Simmons.
I mean, jump on John Simmons. That's one guy on my list. So yeah, he suffered the wrist fracture on Thanksgiving, the middle game against the Cowboys. Is he going to miss time, or can he play like you said?
Well, Andy Reid, they've hinted at he's going to miss some time, or media has hinted he's going to miss some time. It's with the Thursday game. It's not impossible to try and do surgery.
Sunday night game against Texas is what they have this week. Yeah.
Do surgery, do what they need to do with pins in or screws, and get enough healing in the wound and play in a club. Although it's not easy for a left tackle. I believe it's outside left hand to play in a club there. Like I said, Sean Merriman did it. He did give me permission to talk about it again. We've talked about it before. But there was a bye week in there for Sean Merriman.
All right, next one I had, Doc. You always say injuries beget injuries. I don't know if this really pertains to this case, though, but you had Marvin Harrison, first game back from his appendectomy. Now he suffered a heel injury. Tell me what you saw on that play.
I don't know that I saw a play for a heel injury that was bad. I know who saw the last reception, his last pass, but not sure what happened, if it's a heel contusion or some sort of plantar fascia heel issue. They were talking about some inserts, some soft inserts, gel inserts into his shoes. But the thing is, most of the time you play, obviously, the game of football, and certainly at wide receiver on the balls of your feet, not on your heels. And, he did better than I thought. He got 3 early targets early and then not much until later.
Is that a game plan thing, trying to force feed him because he hasn't been there in a while, or just get him back?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the room there, but
Right.
it may be to get him going a little bit, or if you're really going to not play him all plays, make the defense respect him as a decoy, to go to him early on. He had a better game than I thought he would. Next week will even be closer to 100% for Marvin Harrison after his appendectomy.
One big injury, Doc, that happened for the Colts, their new cornerback they got from trade deadline, Sauce Gardner. Everybody was screaming Achilles on Twitter and so forth. Tell me what you saw on the play.
Well, posted almost immediately calf, not Achilles. The Thankfully, that seems to be the case right now. And look, it's just video, but by video, that looked like a calf strain and not an Achilles tendon rupture. I get it. Some people were saying the look back, this, that, the other. But what do we always say? Judge the injury, not the reaction to the injury. The look back is the reaction to the injury. And that doesn't mean always Achilles, but looking at the mechanism and what have you, look like calf strain, which is still significant, especially for a corner that makes a living on backpedaling and then coming back downhill, needing the calf muscle. So hopefully further confirmation. Right now, I think Tom Pelissaro said calf, and he's obviously very reliable. Hopefully there's nothing more than that. He's in a boot on the sidelines there. But just because it's not Achilles doesn't mean that his season isn't over. I mean, this easily could be severe enough to be injured reserve. This easily could be significant enough to be the end of his regular season because calf injuries linger. And hopefully he'll be back before the end of the season, at least for the postseason, although the Colts' chances have slipped a little bit. They're now wild card.
I'm going to jump real quick. A lot of Twitter stuff is going on because a lot of the Browns D-line was upset with Juwan Jennings. One called him a hoe. One said he wasn't raised right. It happened on the Maliek Collins play. Apparently there was a lot of chatter after Maliek Collins went down. It looked like a significant injury. What did you see on that play, Doc?
Well, from the video, I did say worry for patella tendon rupture. It turns out it's the other side of the patella tendon. It's technically not patella tendon, but it's the same effect, quad tendon rupture. Okay. No one has said rupture. People have just said quad so far, but it does look significant. Whether it's on the lower side of the kneecap, which is patella tendon, or the, quote, higher, more proximal side of the patella, which is quad tendon, it's an extensor mechanism rupture. I guess to be more accurate, I should have said extensor mechanism, but patella gives some context, and I think people understand that better. In any case, if true, that would be the end of Maliek Collins' season, and a tough return for 2026, although quad tendon's a little better and easier than patella tendon.
There's a couple of tackles we need to monitor going in, next week, Doc. You had Jack Conklin suffering his second concussion this year. That's for the Browns. There's a chance, we always say IR and stuff when we get that many concussions, so we need to monitor him. They're already down their left tackle already as well.
Typically, second concussion in a season means 4-week IR, and there's 5 weeks to go in the season at this point in time, and the Browns, I don't know if they've been officially eliminated.
3-9, I feel like close, maybe.
They're on the verge of, if not already officially eliminated from playoff contention. I would expect that Jack Conklin misses multiple weeks as an IR and honestly probably season done.
You spoke on the gel inserts for, I believe, Marvin Harrison Jr. There was a question just now about Joe Burrow. He had a metal plate and it was bothering him, and he was wearing sneakers on the sideline. Is that normal for what the turf toe injury that Joe Burrow suffered?
Well, you put a steel plate in there to protect it so that it can't bend to re-aggravate it. But with the steel plate, players don't like it. They can't get off on the ball of your foot and push off. Now, Joe Burrow played, it was a great result for the Bengals and Joe Burrow on Thanksgiving Day. I don't think his game was great. His accuracy was down. You could see him favoring it. He moved for the most part better than most people thought, right? Including me.
However, 24 for 46, though, like you said, a little bit inaccurate.
24 for 46 is not Joe Burrow. Right. Is that a little bit of rust? Maybe. Is that no T. Higgins? Maybe. But it's also, comfort in the pocket, stepping into throws. There were a couple of times, one in particular on a sneak play, where the overhead camera could show him when he got stuck, instead of alternating left, right, trying to push forward, he was pushing off the right, and almost hopping as he pushed forward, sparing his left turf toe side from digging into the ground and causing further pain or injury there. But, he's going to be a week and a half better, right? 10 days better by the time they play.
Next couple one I'll talk about within the same game. Washington still has to play tonight. Just a plug for our sick picks real quick. We did give out on our halftime show Denver Broncos -6. That has a big injury relation, Doc. We talked about the Washington injuries, right? D-line hampered, cornerback hampered, Patrick Surtain back for the Broncos. So that spelled a good sick pick.
And Singleton back for the Broncos.
Exactly, yes, yeah. I always wanted to ask you about his stuff, but I mean, I don't know how many people want to really know about testicular cancer and all that stuff. So,
well, I mean,
it was a quick comment. I feel like he came back quick, but I really don't know anything about that kind of stuff. So,
well, we're just talking from medical terms,
right.
and certainly we wish him the best from his cancer treatment. But typically, because it's resection, that the testicular cancer hopefully is cured, and because of that, it makes surgery, quote, relatively easy. I know it's a very sensitive area and topic, but the return doesn't surprise me based on that. But let's just hope that the cancer is cured by this.
Right.
That's the main issue. The fact that he's playing tonight is tertiary.
And then they are playing, or Washington's playing them, and they play the Vikings next week. 2 injuries for Washington that are pretty significant. One, for the viewers, they're going to have to see Max Brosmer again next week. That might be hurtful for them. But they might also be without Ryan Kelly and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones suffered a potential re-aggravation of his AC joint injury. What did you see on that play?
Yeah, he fell on the left shoulder just like before, and he's been playing through that. So aggravation becomes a bigger deal. And so obviously with the score of the game, he was out for now. Could he play next week with an injection? He could. Max Brosmer, look, a little bit of rough outing for an undrafted free agent. It's hard. You don't take any first team reps, then all of a sudden you get 1 week of first team reps.
Right. Yeah.
It's quite difficult. As far as JJ McCarthy is concerned, because his symptoms surfaced later after the game, those don't bode as well for return. They definitely had him ruled out this week. That's normal. But it puts next week in jeopardy as well. Look at Jackson Dart with the slight delayed onset of symptoms, missed multiple weeks. Look at CJ Stroud, who had a good comeback today, but missed multiple weeks.
Both those quarterbacks missed multiple weeks, exactly. Yeah.
So, Max Brosmer starting again is on the table because of J.J. McCarthy's head injury health. And the Vikings aren't going to jeopardize J.J. McCarthy in the long run. First of all, the system is set up where you can't. You need independent clearance, etc. But Kevin O'Connell is not going to jeopardize their long term just to get him back 1 week sooner. It doesn't matter that Brosmer struggled this week. That's not going to force them or force anyone to clear him. But the Vikings do have a couple of injury issues. And then on the Washington side, next week is the first chance that Jayden Daniels could return. He's obviously out tonight. He'll play with an elbow brace.
You're saying this Viking game, he has a chance?
This Viking game,
yeah, week 14.
Week 14,
yes,
Jayden is the first week that there is a chance. Some of it depends on what happens tonight, in the sense that why would you rush Jayden Daniels back if you're eliminated from the playoffs?
Right.
And I don't know what the scenarios are going to be.
Well, they're already 3-8 before the next game, so they could be 3-9, and that would, like you said.
They're not going to do anything to jeopardize Jayden Daniels in the long run. But like I said, next week is the first potential chance that Jayden Daniels could return from his elbow dislocation.
I have a question just to JJ McCarthy. A lot of times you say, like, if you have other issues specifically in the O-line, you don't necessarily want to put the quarterback out there. You have now Ryan Kelly. They just confirmed hip flexor injury. That's a big deal. That's one of their top. That's their center. Left guard missed the game today. And then you have Darisol, honestly hasn't been 100% the entire year. So does it help your decision, or maybe say, oh, McCarthy another week just because the O-line's so hampered, or it doesn't?
I don't believe that. I have a lot of faith in Kevin O'Connell, and he does a great job. And I don't believe he's going to be messing with the concussion clearance system, whether it's to push him to get cleared or whether to tell the doctors, don't worry, don't clear him.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I think he's going to let the process play out. Now, where it may come into play is if J.J. McCarthy gets cleared or progresses late week, Kevin O'Connell could easily say, for what's best for our team, I'm going to put the guy out there who took the first team reps, not try and stick out a young J.J. McCarthy behind a battered offensive line without a full week of practice and say, look, I'm protecting the kid that way. But I don't think he's going to go to the doctors and jury rig when he's returning or not returning. He's going to let that play out. And if J.J. McCarthy is available to him, he may then make the decision on what's best for the team and JJ McCarthy,
Right.
as you say, because of the O-line. But let's not put the cart before the horse. The medical part has to play itself out first. Then I think the head coach will react to it however he sees fit.
We're going to break down the Thursday night football game because there's a lot of stuff going on in that game. It has a big ramifications for NFC as well. First, just starting with the Cowboys, we don't have too much. Like we said all last couple weeks, Doc, the defense have definitely got healthier, right? They got the trade deadline acquisitions. Overshawn's back. They're going to get Trayvon Diggs back in at least a week or two. His 21 window was opened. That's a big one. Tell me what Tyler Guyton, you're worried about him missing another game for the left tackle spot for the Cowboys, correct?
Yes, Tyler Guyton we're worried about missing, but defensively, when you add Quinnen Williams,
Logan
Wilson, and Overshawn, so that's 3, and then now maybe Diggs. That's significant.
4 starters coming.
Yeah. 4 starters coming back is significant or added, and the Cowboys are rejuvenated right now, and obviously. And don't forget, in there also is the return of CeeDee Lamb.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Also, I'll just go to the Lions, Doc. First, I want to talk about Frank Ragnow, Doc. Grade 3 hamstring. I feel like from a Lions fan, you were so excited to get one of your beloved players back. Now he's out for the season now, and you might never see him again, obviously, because he was retired. Tell me what you are when you reacted to the news of Frank Ragnow and his hamstring.
I think the Lions and their fans have a ton of respect for Frank Ragnow. I think Frank Ragnow has a ton of respect for the Lions and the fans. I think they needed help at center. We saw what's happened with them. And he said he's been working out, been willing to help. Did he know he had a hamstring? He had to, right?
Okay.
And now they're saying he didn't pass the physical. I don't think anyone is making up that there is an injury. I don't think Frank Ragnow is, trying to fool the team and steal money in some way. I don't think the Lions are disrespecting Frank Ragnow. But was it really a grade 3? I mean, it's just easier to say it was a severe hamstring.
And rule him out. Yeah.
And say, look, he didn't pass the physical, as opposed to it's a mild or mid-grade hamstring, and then have fans questioning, why didn't you pass the physical?
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's easier to just say it's a grade 3 hamstring. And look, on Amon-Ra, you can – is it a 2.5 that got rounded up to a grade 3? I mean, look, I'm just saying it's easier from a PR perspective for the announcement to be he wasn't ready. It's a grade 3. He wasn't close to being ready. So thank you, Frank Ragnow. Let's let it go. And I don't think Frank Ragnow had a grade 3 hamstring where he couldn't walk and was on crutches and then was trying to fool the team.
It just happened
I think it was a hamstring that the team felt, we need him in the next few weeks, and he's 3-4 weeks away. Maybe it's not a true grade 3 hamstring strain, and I'm not saying anyone's faking anything. It's just from a PR perspective, it's easy to say it was an easy decision that we can't do this, and they still have lots of respect for each other, kind of situation. And look, I've been there in the room before where things have been shaded up or down. One time a GM told me, don't worry about this guy's knee. I mean, he makes a lot of tackles. We want to sign him. And don't even scare the kid about how degenerative his knee is. And I'm like, look, I'm just going to tell him the truth. You can sign him however you want. You're
basically saying not to do your job in a way.
I'm just going to give you the report of what his knee is, and then you decide whether to sign him or not sign him, kind of thing. If you want to take the risk, you take the risk, kind of thing. So, but I mean, I've been there before when GMs will say, well, let's shade your report this way or shade your report this way. And I usually say, I don't know that I need to shade it. You can always overrule everything that I'm saying. I'm just going to give you an opinion. And that's why you get the big bucks.
Just speaking of Ragnow injury, he had an injury. I'm leading different dots here. 2020, he suffered a fractured throat. He did play the next game through it, but he wasn't able to talk. So he relied on quarterback calls from our friend and your friend Chase Daniel. So there's a fractured throat from Brock Wright today. And Dan Campbell said the injury was similar to Frank Ragnar's fractured throat in the past. They already without Sam Laporta. So this seems like, is this something he can play through like Ragnow has, or is this a little different?
Well, fractured throats, fractured larynx, relative trachea,
like bruised vocal cords,
relatively unusual, thankfully. This is why in baseball catchers have the flap,
little flat,
right?
yep.
For their throat. Depends on the trachea fracture. Depends on the type of fracture, and some of them, you look in medicine. We talk about ABCs, and what's the A? Airway. That's number one. Airway, breathing, circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Trachea is airway, so that's number one. Number one priority. If there's a 0.1% risk of interrupting the airway,
breathing, you ain't playing.
You're not playing. Okay. Now, in Frank Ragnow's case with protection and other things, Frank Ragnow may have been more of a larynx voice box issue. And if Brock Wright is more of a structural trachea issue, then it's different stories. We're not looking at his CT scans or to know. And, I love Dan Campbell. I've said it a lot of times on the show, but with all due respect, Dan Campbell probably doesn't have the nuances of the two. He's saying fractured throat, so
similar fracture,
therefore it's similar.
Yeah,
but we've talked about not all injuries are the same, even if they're called the same thing generically. Dan Campbell could tell me the nuances of an inside zone run, for 17 different ways that I wouldn't even begin to explain. And the same thing in medicine.
All right, Doc, the last one. I've been bearing the lead. Everybody in their fans team is worried about Amon-Ra St Brown. Pelissaro did say low ankle sprain. Tell me what you saw and your thoughts on the Thursday night football game.
Well, look, low ankle sprain certainly would be better news. By video, there was worry for a mild high ankle sprain. I remember the play along the sideline where you got rolled up on when it happened. I suppose we can have all our team that's still here today, and thank you guys for all the work every Sunday and throughout the week. Get some more video, and maybe I'll change my mind. But yes, I was in New York, and yes, it was
holiday week. Yeah.
So right now, I do have worry of mild high ankle, and therefore I am even with the extra days. Although no, they play on short rest, right? They play on the standard 1 week. I think it seems dubious that Amon-Ra St. Brown will play at this point in time, but we'll reserve the right to change that opinion if we see new video. But right now, I would lean towards no.
Just to finish this off, we had a question from the chat. Graham Glasnow, who is the reason why they wanted to bring Ragnow back in, he has a knee injury. He didn't practice all week last week. Are you leaning towards him again, missing this Thursday as well?
Well, it seems like it, right? And they were originally pointing at Ragnow starting next Thursday.
Right. And then things changed and we didn't know why per se. Yeah.
And
now we know.
Quote, failed his physical, right? And now they got to work on plan B, et cetera. But it seems like they would be without Glasnow likely.
So, Doc, we'll wrap it up here. Last week we did not do our catch-up rundown because, like you said, you were in New York.
All right, it's my fault.
You mentioned
it. I know.
I got 1 second right here. You got Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert broke a bone in his hand and will have a procedure tomorrow. Like you said.
There we go.
What did you say? What mark was this at? Harbaugh said he doesn't know if Herbert will miss any time. Unquote. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan.
And the question is, where is the fracture in the hand/finger?
Okay.
Is it metacarpal? Is it proximal phalanx? Look, maybe if we zoomed in enough with 5K or whatever, I could see it more.
Yeah.
It did seem like it was his fourth finger. It probably is a metacarpal fracture in the hand. Look, like I said, we already mentioned the worry about the fracture. And yes, especially with
Monday Night Football is when they
the
play.
One extra day.
Yeah, I'll say always so important. Yeah.
It's not impossible to have the procedure in play.
Okay.
And if they're doing that, yes, they're going to have their procedure tonight.
As I was like tonight, right?
Morning,
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Just to get as much time as possible to get things fixed up and done there.
All right, Doc, we'll wrap it up. Any other insights that come out tonight, tomorrow? Like I said, the extra podcast we'll have tomorrow. All the information's at sixscore.com. Herbert information as well. If there's any other updates, we'll have that there.
And we'll talk a lot about Patriots and Giants tomorrow morning too, at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, ahead of the Monday Night Football game. All right, guys. Thanks, team. Thanks. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving weekend, and we're back to the regular routine this week.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much.